Dear reader, or should I say, John, it's me again. You may remember me by my dead name, Grindel's mother. Now I go by Red. What a cruel summer it has been. Thanks to you, I'm done with you. We are never, ever, ever getting back together. I knew you were trouble when you walked in. I thought you were the one, but everything has changed. That day, I saw you listening to Kanye. That was the moment I knew. You threw everything away. Remember our first date? The very first night? I remember it all too well. I thought you loved me. You belonged with me. Tell me why. Why are you so damn mad for an evil man like Kanye? You showed me how evil this town really is. Now, it's time to go. I hate it here. I need peace. So I'm moving to Florida. Tomorrow I'll be giving you my last kiss. It'll be just like back in December. Whatever you gotta say, you better speak now, because I'm going by midnight. After that, you're your own kid. Kanye, it's different, and you'll feel it tomorrow. I hope you're ready for it. This is the end game. Don't blame me. Look what you made me do. This is why we can't have nice things. Now we got bad blood. You'll be the reason for the teardrops on my guitar. No one's as cold as you. All you had to do was stay. Be a fan like I am. But how did it end? Exactly. I have a new job now at the Tortured Poets Department. Things won't be the same anymore. You'll see. Sincerely, Red. Via typewriter.
Dear Grindel's mother, stop fucking referencing Taylor Swift's tracks, you slut!
What the hell was that? Was our channel just hacked by a Swiftie? I guess so. Ugh, I thought I was safe. I've had enough, Chase. It's time. Oh god, this is gonna be career suicide! I'm sorry, but I must. Taylor Swift. Yeah, I know. That name goes around like the plague. Her music is like bedbugs. We all had to deal with it at one point. It's honestly kind of funny. I never really noticed her popularity until Folklore and Evermore happening. Now every album she drops is suddenly a time-freezing moment. It's very trippy. What the hell happened? Whenever her name is merely mentioned, the most common reaction you get is,
oh! Ew! What the fuck?
The reason for this is because of her marketing decisions, her overall quality of songs, and her fan base known as the Swifties, which many consider to be the worst music fan base of all time. Aggressive harassment towards those who don't have Taylor or any of her works in their top list, or even hot takes on them, are commonplace in that community. On one such occasion, a journalist named Chris Panella of Business Insider was sent death threats, was doxxed alongside his family, and was slandered for being a pedophile, all because he criticized the Eras Tour, Taylor's current concert tour. There's no mistake that Swifties are extremely violent, tone-deaf, and on that occasion, downright evil. But does her music reflect that? Well, throughout the past 3 months, I started my scientific study by listening to 2 of her biggest albums in terms of general popularity and streams, and her newest album, Midnight's 1989 and The Tortured Poets Department. There's a couple things I'd like to say. If you don't have time, here's the very short summary. She's not as terrible as everyone makes her up to be, but she is indeed certified overrated. Anywho, let's begin.
Did someone break out of jail? Look at them!
The hell did you say about Peak?
A Swiftie! Chase, it's been nice knowing you, man. I just want to let you know, before I die, I left you from the will. You ain't getting shit! I want all my shit to be burned and become lost media despite the lost media community! What?
Are you crazy? I'm not gonna kill you.
Yes, you are! All Swifties mans will be close of Hannibal Lecter!
And you're right!
And... Oh shit, really?
Yeah, it's just been getting hard to support her because of her mid-ass albums.
Huh. So then why are you here?
Well, I was in prison for criticizing her, but I can't escape this ringing in my ears. A strange force like... someone within a 5-mile radius was criticizing Taylor Swift.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna cover you out there. Excuse me? A strange force?
Us Swifties have that ability.
I guess that is to be expected. Anyways, continuing.
Then I heard you two saying she's overrated? Well, she may have some mid albums, but overrated? I beg to differ. I'm gonna prove to you that she's popular for a reason.
Alright then, I guess this is gonna be a back to forth episode in that case. So without further ado, let's start with Midnights.
Wait, hold on, are you recording this?
You're not allowed to speak yet!
I remember this album being so huge when it first came out. Every time I went into my local Barnes & Noble to look at the vinyl collection, don't ask, I'd stumble upon stacks of Midnight's variants, with notes that demanded you collect them all. For context, Taylor has been facing controversy for releasing multiple versions of the same album, sometimes not even featuring all the bonus material. You'd practically be forced to buy different versions of the album if you wanted a specific bonus track. In my opinion, this is downright manipulative and greedy. It gives you the anxiety of trying to collect them all.
Exactly. Normally, it would be fine if you had separate bonus tracks on each variant. Olivia Rodrigo's recent album Guts had one new track on every variant before she released them on the deluxe edition. But no, the only difference with these variants were the packaging. On one hand, I like the creativity she implemented. When you collect all 4 editions and put them together, you make a clock. But guess what? You're supposed to buy 4 copies of the same album and the clock mechanism. Buying 1 copy of the album is a massive purchase for some, but 4? Who does that?
I know, right? I'd never buy multiple copies of the same product. No!
And a working clock mechanism? I get that it's a thematic gimmick, but come on. It's absolutely a gimmick meant to wring the hardcore fans of as much money as she could. Of course, she did sell newer variants with bonus material. Tracks like Hits Different and You're Losing Me didn't hit streaming until months after they were on some CD variants. But that's not what I'm talking about. The base album alone had 4 variants, and another super limited version with a bonus track. Expecting fans to fork over $50 to $120 to collect them is madness. But that's not what you buy physical albums for. If the music is good, why bother buying 4 copies? So Izu, how does the music sound?
Painfully boring. Nothing was lost, and nothing was gained. Midnights is simply Midnights. Besides Anti-Hero, which I must concede is one of the catchiest Taylor songs I've ever heard, I feel like most of the songs sound way too similar to one another, and most put you to sleep, and not in a good way. I actually find myself slipping in and out of consciousness halfway through the album. I guess that's why she calls it Midnights, because the whole sound makes you feel like you're up at midnight fighting through sleep.
Really? I thought she called Midnights because it's... mid... Get it?
Hardy, hardy, har! What an original joke! Anywho, what is your defense on Midnights?
What is my defense? Can I be honest? I'm of the opinion that Midnights is her weakest album to date. I used to have things that I like about Midnights, the more chill production, the more introspective songwriting. Snow on the Beach is probably my favorite off the album, but I'm very mixed on it a couple years later. So excuse me while I take the stage to rant about Jack Antonoff. Who's Jack Antonoff? He made a lot of Taylor's biggest hits. He was on some of the catchier deep cuts of 1989 and Reputation, and has been Taylor's go-to guy since Lover. He made 11 out of the 18 tracks on that actually. And you know that feeling where you work together for so long that your collaborative work starts to plateau? Yeah, that's pretty much where they're at, starting with Midnights. The washed out production completely removes any natural element to her voice, and they all end up sounding... how'd you put it?
Samey?
Bingo.
So that's why that album sucker punches me to dreamland. Anywho, in conclusion, this album is very bumpy, it's repetitive, and just bores you. I give it a 5 out of 10. The extra points are for Anti-Hero. What do you give it, DJ?
Honestly, same as you, but maybe leaning to a 6.
Up next is debatably one of the most hyped up remakes of all time. 1989, Taylor's...
Hey, wait a minute, what about Speak Now?
Hey! Listen here, I know that album exists, but barely anyone outside of the TS ecosystem even knows it exists. When it came to listening to these albums for the studio, I had to make some sacrifices. Got it?
I guess.
Good. Now take it like a man and shush! Anywho, 1989, Taylor's version. I feel like when this album dropped, for half a year, it was Black Friday. Everyone wanted a piece of that album. It was even being scalped, which I never heard of for music. Like, sure, games being scalped was expected, but albums? That's a first. But I do have some choice words for the album's marketing. She barely spoke a peep, but stole like a bandit in the night. Not even metaphorically, literally.
Hey TikTok, it's your girl Christina, and today's video I have gotten all 11 variants of 1989 Taylor's version. After some discussion with my lawyer, I have managed to buy all of my grandma's inheritance, but I know it's towards a good cause. I'm sure Taylor needs all the money she can get. So, let's unbox. Cut the fucking video!
Why the fuck are there 11 versions of the same album? I'm pretty sure this is fan porn, not because it pleases every single Swiftie ever for some fucked up reason. And what are the benefits of getting a version? A bonus track?
No, actually, that's only for one of the 11 versions. With the other 10, you get Polaroids.
Oh wow, what a bargain. That was well over the $40 each. It's not like I could just search up the song on YouTube and listen to it for free or stream the song on Spotify where all bonus tracks are listenable on. And Polaroids? Wow. Doubles money now, Taylor. It's not like I could just use Google reverse image search to just find these images in higher quality. No, never.
It's the same problem as Midnight's. You're not offering any new songs on the majority of these variants. The Polaroids are fine, but why not have them in a box set with a standard album? It would come across as less greedy and you can afford to fit more goodies in a box set. Think Bo's Inside, where there was, creativity behind the packaging. This feels like the most tacky and bland rollout in her re-records. There was no music video for any of the vault tracks, no big hype event on her tour either. Remember when she premiered the music video for I Can See You on stage when Speak Now came out? Remember when she had an entire short film for All Too Well?
Yeah, it really feels like she's barely even trying anymore with these rollouts. If anything, I feel like the fans do more than her, and that's not a good thing considering what they can do. However, does the album sound good?
I have things to say.
Hey, it's not your turn to speak yet. Not about that time you speak now, if you catch my cold.
Is it too late to quit?
Good luck, man. I tried to. Anyways, to put it very strangely, I think what it is the mixing / production on these songs. Hear me out. But it sounds like, cheap china. It sounds like glass. Something about the drums, the synths, the hi-hats. My god, it doesn't sound good. Also, Taylor's vocals sound forced as fuck. It sounds like she's reading off a paper, trying to copy the exact melody note by note, breath for breath, syllable by syllable. It doesn't sound natural.
I think I can explain that actually. 1989, the original version, was produced by Max Martin and Shellback, two legends who've made the most catchy pop songs over the last 20 years. One More Night and Payphone by Maroon 5, Can't Stop the Feeling by Justin Timberlake.
Ew!
Pardon?
Nothing. Continue.
Okay. Remember the Name, I Don't Care, and Eyes Closed by Ed Sheeran. They are very well known in the industry. Hell, Taylor has brought them back for some of the dance pop tracks off Red TV.
Okay, you made some bangers, I guess. Why are you bringing it up now?
Because the producers of 1989 Taylor's version were not them, but instead Christopher Rowe, who's been helming all of the re-records. Now, Chris is a good country rock producer. His fingerprints are all over Fearless and Speak Now's re-recordings. But notice those two albums are predominantly country albums. Something 1989 is not. You can't get a country rock producer to replicate the synth pop or trap sound of 1989 and expect it to go well, because it didn't.
At the end of the day, this does get a 7 out of 10, simply because it's motherfucking 1989, the most accessible and loved Taylor album. You can't go wrong with that. So with that being said, how dare she create a New York love song called Welcome to New York when she wasn't even born in New York and instead was born in Pennsylvania? What does she know about New York? Lights and free advertisements for her shit? That's literally all she boasts about in the song. Lights! She don't know shit! Anyways, enough of my babbling. What's your score?
I don't have the same goodwill that you do towards this album. I like some of the songs in this record because of how radio friendly they are, but to me, most of the deep cuts don't appeal to me. There are a lot of generic white girl pop. I don't really have a problem with white girl pop. Ariana Grande's Eternal Sunshine and Dua Lipa's Radical Optimism are pretty alright. At the time of writing this, Sabrina's upcoming album is objectively catchy, and I'm here for it. But 1989 is not it, man. I didn't care much about the original album, and I think this one is the worst of the re-records. 3 out of 10.
Damn!
What now?
Nothing. Anyways, now it's time for present day Taylor with the Tortured Poets Department. I know. Well, fucking well. Now listen here, I got a bone to pick with this album. But firstly, this album's launch was crazy. It felt like a world-stopping moment, as everyone everywhere bought or listened to this album. She marketed the hell out of this album through shoddy merch. The clothing looked like something I could easily replicate via Google Docs or Google Image Search and plaster on a clothing making website. Therefore, I got a tailored merch for half the price of what she's selling them for.
Bro, I've had a bone to pick with Taylor's merch since Midnight's. She's a billionaire and one of the highest earning female pop artists. Why is her apparel the most graphic design is my passion as shit you've seen? Something I look for with merch from music artists is either creativity or subtlety. Either include your brand tastefully or make it a reference or something. If I'm paying $50 for a hoodie, it better be worth it.
But, enough of the merch. Is the album itself good? Well, according to people outside the Taylor Swift fanbase, no. When listening to it, I couldn't help but feel like the majority of the tracks felt unfocused and tired, and Fortnite felt out of place. Although I will admit that the title track was actually pretty great. Another thing I must say is that the album drags on for way too long, especially when one listens to the anthology, the sister album, which we'll look at in a moment. The album is the type that you listen to once and then never again. I give it a 6 out of 10.
Look, I'm gonna be honest here. I want to like this album, I really do. It's not super poppy, she didn't write it for the charts. It's the most autobiographical and honest we've heard Taylor be. But, much like Midnight's, Jack motherfucking Antonoff strikes again and makes it so boring to listen to. It legit feels like they're reusing the same sound from Midnight's, which doesn't make it stand out on its own. I do like some of the songs for their lyrics, but the production is so hit or miss that overall, it's 4 out of 10.
Interesting. But I think that's all the albums. I guess I'm gonna end it here. Thank you all for watching, comment, subscribe, and now, as if the album having 16 tracks isn't lengthy enough, why not have another 15? The Anthology, released hours after the Torture Poets Department, unannounced, it's meant to be a companion album. Listen to it, but it's by far the worst experience I've had in years. Each track almost felt like the exact same, and one track in particular, I look in people's windows, made me cringe so hard, Ray's nose started to bleed. Here's photographic proof. See? Taylor is dangerous for the ears and nose. The tracks feel even more strange than the standard. I just kept thinking to myself, what is this gonna end? Ray ended up falling asleep before it ended. Yikes. 2 out of 10.
Yikes, that's harsh, because I kinda like the anthology more than the standard. But only if you listen to them separately. Because most of the tracks here aren't produced by Jack Antonoff. They're produced by Aaron and Bryce Dessner of The National.
What a fucking name.
Oh, you don't know who The National is? Well, doesn't matter, neither do I. Do you know the last 2 Ed Sheeran albums? Yeah, he produced them. He also produced the 2 best modern Taylor Swift albums, Folklore and Evermore. And like those albums, this side is a lot more rustic and indie. Live instruments, less polished vocal mixing everywhere. I don't know, it's a vibe. But this is where I'm gonna have to agree with you, Izu, because when you have an entire hour of rustic indie lo-fi songs to chill to, you are going to fall asleep. The 2 folk albums really worked for me because Taylor knew how to add variety. She alternated between Jack's more electronic production with Aaron's rustic production throughout the track list. Does that make sense?
I can see what you mean. Despite my feelings towards the anthology showing no bounds, she did add some sort of variety into the mixing and overall sound of it. It explains why my nap into Torture Post Department was honk shoo, and the anthology got me going honk me. My sleeps were different.
This is what I mean! If she had shuffled the songs on both editions to have a stronger variety, I don't think we would all be asleep by the end.
Ironic considering this album awoke monsters.
Oh, don't tell me.
I will tell you. When these albums dropped, they saw sales and popularity that was unlike any other album in the past 4 years. Almost every single human being in the US was listening to it. Thus, it charted to number 1. And that's when she gained the chart fetish. She wanted more. This bitch wanted to stay there. And so, if one dared to drop an album, she would fight back by adding another version of her album. The most horrendous examples being Billie Eilish and Charlie XCX. When Billy dropped Hit Me Hard and Soft, it received near universal acclaim, with many considering it to be her best and most consistent album to date.
You know, it means something when I enjoyed this album more than Taylor's.
The tracks almost immediately shot up to over 100 million streams, especially Birds of a Feather, which surpassed Taylor's track I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, become the fastest streamed non-single by a female artist. She also dethroned her to Spotify's charts. So why is she still at number 2 4 weeks later? More infamously was Charli XCX's album Brat, which was also released to widespread acclaim, with it being one of the highest rated albums of all time immediately. But then Taylor dropped yet another version of her album, stopping Charli from charting at number 1. In my opinion, this is one of the most disgusting and indefensible acts that Taylor has done, period.
I do feel bad for the other artists who Taylor is trampling over for her album to maintain its spot, but I don't think it's as malicious as most people on Twitter are making it out to be. Billy and Taylor went neck and neck releasing digital variant after digital variant at one point. Why? Because they both want to maintain their spots. It's classic industry standard, isn't it? If anything, I think the fans are the ones losing out, as they have to fork over their money for all those variants. I know this because I am one of them.
I'll give you that. The stan fan bases are reacting even more aggressively. They're practically screaming at each other. Well, we all know which side is better. Billie Eilish. Sorry, I have a cough called the Billie Eilish cough that makes me cough and say Billie Eilish every time I cough. But still, allow me to make a quick PSA to the ones on the Twitter battlefield. Thank you for listening.
On the topic of stans, can we talk about the fan reception to Tortured Poets? Because I think it's one of the first albums from her that the fans are god defending to an insane degree.
You have the floor.
Thank you. My fellow Swifties, here's a message for you. This album isn't that deep. Stop treating it like it's a massive literary achievement. Yes, it's the most personal and vulnerable Taylor's been, but at the end of the day, they are still works of art. No matter how much of your heart and soul you put into your art, you are not immune from criticism. Furthermore, I don't think most of the criticism is targeted at her as a person. Hell, we wrote this with the intention of not bullying her as a person. Our critiques are all solely focused on her brand output. If you take it as a personal attack on your queen, but I'm sorry, you need to sit down and have a Snickers. Have a Kit Kat, just drink water.
And I think that pretty much summarizes this whole video and wraps it all up. But there's still one more thing I need to answer. The title. What is Taylor Swift? Well, in my research, my biggest question to answer in it was, is she truly overrated, or is she genuinely a great artist? So I listened to these albums multiple times, while also listening to other of her greatest hits, like Cool Summer, All Too Well, Me, You Need to Calm Down, Look What You Made Me Do, You Belong With Me, Mean, Teardrops on My Guitar, Cardigan, Lover, and August. And I made my decision. I think she's fine.
My answer to that actually is yes. She's both overrated and she's a great artist. She's made some bangers in her earlier records and she still does know how to write good songs. But I think either she or her producers know that she is too big to fail. She has her army of dedicated Swifties that will devour anything she puts out, regardless of how stale they are. And as a casual Swiftie who's been following her for 7+ years, that's a little disappointing. I want to be able to recommend a new Taylor Swift album to people like you. I want to sing its praises and grow to love it. But at this stage in her career,
it's getting harder to do that, huh?
Yeah.
I can only hope that one day she'll regain her senses and maybe drop an actual great album that even will have the outsiders blushing. I doubt it, but one can only hope. But for now, I'm gonna end it here.
Prisoner, come with us. You're going back to
thank you all for watching, I guess.
You'll never take me alive. I can't go back. I won't!